Welcome to the CryptoWise channel, everybody. My name is Dave. In today's video, we're going to be looking at what the charts are telling us about Bitcoin and where is it likely going to go within the next 2 to 6 weeks. And this is the CryptoWise channel. We focus on macro technical analysis and facts in the charts so we can have clarity and ease of decision making in the crypto market, laying out highest probabilities based on chart patterns, confluence, and indicators. No news, no hype, no indicators, just cool, calm, and focused. So if you guys have been following some of my videos, you would have been informed about how we are in a bear market and how and where my bear market price targets are. We're still in a bear market. And these takes a really long time before Bitcoin actually sees a reversal. And we are likely going to keep going down here. If I zoom out here on the weekly time frame, okay, got some squiggles from before here. And I just want to share basically where we are now in comparison to the previous cycle because it looks very, very similar. So we can see here we have a big shoulder, a head, and a small shoulder, a breakdown. And then we had this phase here where we chopped around for 4 weeks or so, right? The weekly chart. And then the price broke down further and then ended up making a long bottoming structure that took about 6 months or so. And then finally the reversal, and then we went up into a bull market. But we can see that it's a very similar pattern. We have the big shoulder, a head, a small shoulder, which was a consolidation phase, which was this one here. That is this, basically. And then we had a bear flag breakdown. Boom. Bear flag breakdown. Boom. So this phase here in 2022 is basically where we are now. Okay? So very, very similar pattern. Also in the previous video, you'll see why this is my, if you check out either of these two videos here, my first two videos on Bitcoin, you'll see why this is my price target for the bear market for Bitcoin. So I'm going to go over what I think is going to happen here in the next little bit and share with you why that is. So first off, what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom out and go to that section from 2022. And I'm going to take a section of this out with the bars pattern. Basically, it gives me an ability to superimpose it over the price action. Here it is here. So from this high to this low here, like this. There we go. So mainly we're focusing on this middle part. And this is the daily time frame, so I'm going to move this over like this and put it here. Okay, and you can see how the price action is pretty much mirroring, despite this, we still had a big drop going into here, and this price action is basically mirroring pretty close to what's happening right now. And we'd be falling into this box on this next move down. All right, so we see that this section here was basically that square consolidation that ended up being a bear flag. So bear flag is a continuation pattern, right? So if I zoom out here, bear flag pattern, and I look at images, right? There's lots of different types of bear flag. Here's a good example there. It's basically a strong move down into a consolidation phase where the price just chops around, and then there's a strong move down that follows that, right? And that's how bear flags work, basically. And there's a way to measure that target. And in this case, you do it like this. You measure it from the start of the impulse, which would have been up here, to the bottom. And then in this case, because it's a square, a rectangle consolidation, you put the measured move into the flag like this at the peak, just like I did in the other one. And you can see that we broke I guess maybe I'm a bit aggressive with the way. It's always better to be a bit more conservative when you do these measured moves. So even if I took it like just a little shallower, I know there's a wick there. If I took it just a little bit shallower and then go from peak to low, we can see that we hit the target perfectly when you measure it that way, right? And that's how we measure a bear flag, basically, the target, the measured move price target. So we do the same thing here where we're at now. Let's just move this over. We don't necessarily have a bear flag right now, but it could, if it's going to mirror this price action, it's going to look like a rising channel bear flag like this. All right, we'll just ignore that. It's going to look like a rising channel potentially, right? I mean, we could make the case that it's like this, and maybe that's the low for today, and then we're going to go up into a higher target like that. So yeah, it still fits this the previous cycle pattern. So if we had a channel like this, for example, right, and we did a measured move from this peak to the low and then put it to where I think it's going to peak approximately, probably beginning of March maybe, something like this at the top of this channel, because that's what price likes to do. When it consolidates in a channel, it goes from peak to low eventually until it breaks down, and that would put us into this box here. At the very least, I could see 53K because of the previous support levels here that we have over here, right? Very important levels, right? We've had prior resistance when the price was underneath, broke above, and that level acted as support, support, support before we went higher. So that level is a significant level, but when we are in a big bear trend, it's possible that we break through it and go below and trend below it for a while before we come back up. That's exactly what happened with this recent bear flag. So now, what do I think is going to happen here? It's very, very possible, based on what I'm seeing, that we're going to see Bitcoin go to 74K to fill out this bear flag, this potential bear flag, and then roll over, just like we saw here, okay, in this 2022 price action. And not only that, it makes sense to see continuation, a pattern that gives us continuation into this box because it fits the macro outlook. It's all in the other videos, so just go ahead and watch that, the two first videos I made on the channel. So other reason why I think that 74 will get tagged is this. It's very 74 will get tagged and then we roll over. It's very, very common. Well, there are a couple things. One, when we break, so this pattern here, okay, this was a very significant level. I'm just going to remove this line here and keep it horizontal. This was a 8-month consolidation. This is a very, very long time for price to accumulate before finally breaking this level. Look how many times we got rejected between these levels here of about 74 to about 71. So I'm going to bring this over here. This is a resistance zone, okay? So it's a resistance zone, right? We got daily wicks into the high of the zone and closes below the zone, barely made it here, and then attempted again here, got rejected, and finally broke through. This was 8 months of consolidation before it finally broke through. That tells you that this level is very significant, because if it took that long to get above, and then we spent most of the bull market above it, we had a back test, went higher, and then we made a bear flag to break through it. Now that we are below it, this level that took 8 months to break above isn't going to break so easy. I highly doubt that we're going to break above this level now that we're below it. At least not right away. At least not in the next several weeks or even a couple months. It's going to take some time. So typically what happens when we break back below these levels, so when the price was above, this acted as support, right? Acted as support and it went up. Now that we're back below it, it acts as resistance, because you can see that, as I've outlined, we can just ignore this for a moment. We can see that this level here, the bottom of the channel, this resistance zone, as we got rejected here many times before, is now doing a very similar thing again below it. Very normal. And it would make a lot of sense to see the top of this channel get tagged. To basically what that is it's called a back test. So it's further confirming this level as resistance now that the price is below, right? Very, very often price will do that if there's a pattern like a W pattern, right? The price is below the neckline, it acts as resistance. As soon as it breaks the neckline, or resistance, it can come back down to back test it as support and then continue to the upside. Now that we are doing the opposite, right, and we broke into support and we are in a bearish trend, it's very common to see that level get back tested as resistance before it rolls over and goes down, right? We've seen that happen over here, the opposite thing that happened over here, just this backspace, there we go. Right, this entire level that we broke above, when we broke above, you know, it was acting as resistance, broke it, and then it acts as support. We'd actually back tested here as support, and then we went higher, right? Same thing that we're going to do, likely going to do here. It's not guaranteed, of course, but yeah. So that's one factor here that I'm considering. So that's two things: structural thing, the back test thing, and also the previous history is matching to see a big move to the downside. It will also match and fill the macro outlook that we're going to see lower prices moving forward. So yeah, I do believe that it's very likely that we're going to see a move up into this zone, and what will happen is a lot of people will flip bullish. All the people that have biases and bullish biases, they'll probably think that this is a W pattern, and they're going to measure it as a W, and they're going to think, okay, W breakout, we're going to go to, you know, 75K, you know, and who knows, maybe the price will go up to there, but it would be very likely that it'll just make an M pattern and work its way down when it does, because it's possible that it happens basically going into this weekend, and that we break down early March, or that we continue chopping around here for a little bit and then we go up more towards mid-March into this area before we see a rollover like this, and then this channel would just look a bit differently, a bit different, and maybe we have more of a like a triangle wedge sort of pattern, right? So it's more about timing. I think that probably more than likely we'll either see it move up into like end of Feb, early March, or mid-March, because I'm thinking about the new moon. Another factor that I like to use for my analysis is the moons. So if we look at the moon phases, we can see that when I had made this call that we were going to break down here from 97K, we were right around a new moon. So blue circles are new moons and green is the full moon. That's how I have it configured. So we can see that it does happen that when we get into a new moon, that the price likes to come down into a full moon. Very common. Just like we had a new moon recently a few days ago, the price has been kind of holding down. But it's not always 100%. It's just one factor that I like to weigh in. And the next new moon would be, I think it's the 18th of March. It's around mid-March. So, yeah. So yeah, these are a lot of reasons why I believe that we're gonna see the price action eventually at some point see this area get back tested, and then we're likely to see a strong move to the downside. So that's the update with Bitcoin. Hopefully that's helpful for you guys. And also, if you're looking to de-risk and sell your Bitcoin, it's still a good opportunity to do so. I believe it is still a good opportunity to do so. I'll give you some measurements. If these targets get filled as per previous history, based on historical data, the bear market low should be somewhere in this box. If you still had Bitcoin, you wanted to de-risk, selling around 73 to 74, you could still see a 30 to 40% dip and then buy back lower. So if you had 100K, right, 100K, for example, and you sold it here, you come back down to this level and you buy back that 100K, let's say at 44, when the price comes back up to where it was, you'd be up 67%. So now you'd have 167K, right? So a little de-risking idea, you know, yeah. To me, this is the highest probability. Of course, it's possible it doesn't happen, but, you know, of course, you know, manage yourself appropriately. And, yeah. So that's it for today, guys. If you like the content, and please like, share, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.